Good afternoon again, and thank you for joining us. We have a number of people who have joined us for today's webinar with the Administration for Children and Families. I am Deborah Johnson, Deputy Assistant Secretary for External Affairs. Today, we will provide an overview of ACF's FY 2025 budget request, and ACF leadership will discuss the proposed budget's impact for our children, youth, and families and our programs, our early childhood programs, Native American programs, and economic mobility programs. We will also have time for a short Q&A session at the end of this meeting. So at this time, I will turn the program over to Jeff Hild, our ACF Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary, to provide opening remarks.
Great. Thank you so much, Deputy Assistant Secretary Johnson. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm happy to welcome you all to the discussion on the President's FY25 budget requests for ACF. It's certainly interesting to be talking about our FY25 request when we're still waiting for FY24 to be settled, but fingers crossed that happens soon this week, and we have some clarity and certainty going forward. However, as you all know, the President's budget is really the vision for our agency's work. It outlines the priorities and proposals that we will be pursuing over the next year, and it really is the blueprint for our work. Will be the basis of how we talk about our work with Congress and other external partners. So we really wanted to be sure we provided you all with an opportunity to hear from our leadership team about what's in the budget request and have the chance to engage with our senior leaders to get your questions answered. In total, our budget request for FY25 is $91.8 billion. This includes $37.8 billion on the discretionary funding side of things and $54 billion in mandatory funding. And overall, that represents about a 21% increase from our FY23 budget line. Our request is focused on moving our key priorities forward. So increasing child and family safety and well-being, strengthening the early childhood sector to meet the needs of children, building economic stability for all families, creating greater opportunity for youth, young adults, and young parents, fulfilling our nation-to-nation commitment to tribes, providing support for refugees and unaccompanied children, and ensuring communities are resilient in the face of disasters. Through its combination of discretionary and mandatory spending, the budget proposes critical investments and policy changes to continue building on ACF's success and ensure we deliver human services that are equitable, focused on prevention, and centered on child and family well-being. And I'm particularly excited that this budget proposes historic investments in early care and education, including high-quality and affordable childcare for all families and universal pre-K. And our Director of the Office of Child Care, Ruth Fredman, will walk you through some of those proposals. I'm also really excited that the budget builds on our work to transform child welfare towards a system focused on prevention and family and cultural preservation. And our ACYF Commissioner, Rebecca Jones-Gaston, will provide you more details there. I'm going to be joined by other ACF leaders, our ANA Commissioner, Patrice Kunes, our Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy, Jen Canestra. And so we're really excited to have this time with you. But before I turn it over to them, I want to highlight some of the cross-programmatic areas of the budget request that would help us enhance our support for children and families in various crisis situations. First, $261 million for the Family Violence Prevention and Services Program, and a commitment to advancing the bipartisan Family Violence Prevention Services Act reauthorization effort. $30.8 million for anti-trafficking in persons programs to support programs for people who have experienced human trafficking, as well as the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And $2 million for disaster human services case management to support people following disasters and emergencies. The budget request also includes a proposal to establish a disaster human services emergency fund and develop coordinated national disaster response for human services programs to respond effectively to the significant administrative challenges faced in the wake of disasters, and to serve the real and urgent needs of communities and families. And this is all part of our effort to elevate the role of human services in resilience and disaster recovery. This funding will enable us to support people in the most vulnerable of situations and ensure they have access to the resources and services that strengthen their well-being. So thanks again for being with us today. I'd now like to turn things over to our Commissioner for the Administration for Children, Youth, and Families, Rebecca Jones-Gaston, to speak about the proposals in her space. Thanks.
I think it's coming to me.
Ruth.
Keep everyone on their toes today. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ruth Fredman. I'm the Director of the Office of Child Care and am joining you today to discuss ACF's FY 2025 budget request for early childhood programs more broadly. We all know the importance of early childhood experiences to our children's development. A strong start in the early years can lay the foundation for a healthy and productive lifetime. This budget request reflects our pro-family approach and commitment to child and family well-being, and it demonstrates the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to ensuring all children and families have access to high-quality early childhood programs and services delivered through a properly compensated workforce and a strong and stable early care and education sector. I'm so pleased to say that the ACF mandatory budget request continues the president's call for access to affordable, high-quality childcare and universal preschool for every family that needs it. This would be life-changing to millions of Americans. Specifically, the Affordable Childcare for America proposal in the FY 25 budget will help the parents of more than 16 million children afford high-quality childcare. The proposal would mean no middle-income family would pay more than $10 per day, saving the average family over $600 per child per month. The budget also invests in free voluntary universal preschool for all 4-year-olds nationwide and aims to expand to 3-year-olds. Together, these investments make early care and education accessible, increases wages for early childhood education workers, and will boost the economy. In addition, ACF's FY 25 discretionary budget request also includes $21.3 billion for early childhood programs. This includes $12.5 billion for Head Start, which is a $544 million increase from FY 23 to directly support the Head Start workforce. It also includes $8.5 billion for the Child Care and Development Block Grant, which is a $500 million increase from FY 23. This increase will continue the historic progress this administration has made in stabilizing the childcare sector and help more Americans afford childcare. The proposal also includes $250 million for preschool development grants to build more robust state systems of early learning, stabilize childcare, and respond to significant mental health and workforce challenges in the early childhood sector. The proposed early care and education budget will have a tremendous impact on the lives of children and families across the country. I want to close by thanking all of the people in our audience today who help carry out ACF's programs each and every day. None of this would be possible without your commitment to supporting children and families. And with that, I am now going to turn it over to Commissioner Jones-Gaston.
Thank you, Director Fredman. Hello, everybody. I am delighted to be able to share the budget, proposed budget information for the Administration for Children, Youth, and Families. ACF oversees many programs that provide social services to promote and support the growth and development of children, youth, and their families, while also providing protective services and shelter for children and youth that are in at-risk situations. We're very grateful for and excited about the proposed funding for ACF's Children, Youth, and Families programs. And I have no doubt that this will help us better deliver on our mission to support the diverse communities we serve. The fiscal year 2025 budget reflects the Biden-Harris administration's priority to build a child welfare system that keeps families safely together and promotes prevention while ensuring concrete supports for youth transitioning into adulthood. The budget adds support for kinship placements and guardianships provides services to homeless youth, strengthens prevention-focused outcomes, and promotes equity in the child welfare system. These increases will help ACF further address disparities, strengthen our prevention-focused efforts, and provide families the support they need to lead safe, fulfilling lives. Specifically, the mandatory child welfare budget invests $11.7 billion over 10 years in preventing child maltreatment, streamlining and increasing funding to tribes, promoting kinship placements, and assisting youth and young adults transitioning to adulthood. ACF's new proposal for the fiscal year 25 include providing comprehensive tribal child welfare funding, which creates a consolidated grant for tribes that could be used for any child welfare service, including culturally appropriate prevention and supportive services, foster care, kinship supports, reunification services, guardianship or adoption support, and child welfare staff and training. This grant would replace currently fragmented funding provided to tribes under Title 4B, subparts 1 and 2, as well as the CHAFE and discretionary education and training voucher programs, estimated to be about $719 million over 10 years. It would also allow another proposal would allow tribes that do not currently receive Title 4E funding to be eligible for the Title 4E prevention services funding. This allows tribes that do not participate in the Title 4B subpart 1 child welfare services program that do participate in the Title 4B subpart 1 child welfare services program, but do not currently participate in Title 4E foster care and adoption assistance. Those tribes would be able to submit a plan to directly operate Title 4E prevention services programs at $60 million over 10 years. Another proposal where for FY25 is creating new flexibilities and support in the CHAFE program for youth who've experienced foster care. And this is a modified proposal from what was proposed in the FY24 President's budget to strengthen the CHAFE program. The modification creates a new demonstration authority to test post-foster care healthy transition assistance for young people ages 18 to 26 who've left foster care within the previous 5 years, whether or not that placement met Title 4E eligibility requirements. And that is set at $2.2 billion over 10 years. Some of the other continued proposals in fiscal year 2025 include expand and encourage participation in 4E prevention services and kinship navigator programs at $4.9 billion, increase Title IV support for kinship foster care placements and guardianship at $920 million, and prevent and combat religious, sexual orientation, gender identity and gender expression, or sex discrimination in the child welfare system, which is a cost-neutral proposal. A savings in the budget is proposed to reduce the reimbursement rates for foster care congregate care placements at $180 million reduction over 10 years. Another proposal that we're carried forward is reauthorizing personal responsibility education program for 1 year at $75 million, and ACF's fiscal year 25 proposed discretionary budget that includes $146 million for the Runaway and Homeless Youth Program and supporting its reauthorization. The discretionary request includes several targeted investments and proposals to strengthen child welfare programs, including an increase of $19 million for the community-based child abuse prevention program for a total of $90 million. This also includes proposals to increase the minimum state allocation amount and provide a $5 million set aside for tribes, tribal organizations, and migrant programs. It proposes an increase of $27 million for child welfare research, training, and demonstration funds for a total of $46 million. That would then fund new grants for child welfare workforce recruitment and retention to evaluate culturally specific prevention and preservation interventions and to engage individuals with lived experience in the planning and design making processes and offer culturally responsive supports to communities who've been historically underserved and marginalized. An additional proposal is an increase of $4 million for the Chafee education and training vouchers, bringing that to a total of $48 million to increase the number of education and training vouchers to youth who are or were in foster care. These investments will strengthen our programs and help ACF deliver its mission to support children, youth, young adults, and families. It's now my pleasure to welcome Commissioner Patrice Kunes, the Commissioner for the Administration for Native Americans and Deputy Assistant Secretary for Native American Affairs at ACF, and she'll speak about the budget's implications for Indigenous children and families. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be with all of you. I am Patrice Kunes, Commissioner of the Administration for Children for Native Americans, and I'd like to share with you the Native American budget, Native American programs budget request. Through the Administration for Native Americans, ACF ensures that the federal government honors its government-to-government relationship with tribes, and that we equitably engage tribes to appropriately protect and enhance the health, safety, and welfare of their communities. And I'm really proud to share that the FY25 budget proposal reflects these values and will help us continue to support critical tribal needs while honoring their sovereignty and fostering self-determination among Indigenous children and families. This budget includes $66 million for Native American programs, which is $5 million above the FY23 levels. This increase will support up to 20 new grant awards, which we will use to ensure the survival and continuing vitality of Native American languages by using current grant programs and funding strategies to preserve and protect and maintain our vitally important Native languages. Additionally, this increase includes $2 million to support a survey on the use of Native American languages in the United States. This survey, the first ever to really quantify and define the languages used in the United States, will be used to provide Congress and the public information on which languages are currently being used, the types of Native languages and practices being used in communities, and the kind of policies needed to prevent further erosion and extinction of Native languages. The budget also includes a legislative proposal to provide tribes the authority to create tribally determined, culturally informed, high-quality early childhood services for young children and their families. This funding flexibility will ensure that tribes can embed their language and culture and values in these very critically important early childhood and childcare programs, thereby reaching children during their most formative years and strengthening tribal self-governance. I am really excited for many ways the proposed budget will strengthen our support for Indigenous children and families, and really showing and demonstrating our values right up front. Now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Deputy Assistant Secretary Jennifer Canistra, to discuss how the budget proposal will help advance economic mobility amongst our families. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. ACF is committed to providing families the support they need to overcome poverty, and we work with federal and state and tribal and local partners to invest in economic mobility, to strengthen intergenerational outcomes, and to create long-lasting stability for those we serve. I am proud to say that the FY25 budget proposal reflects this commitment. So as you can see, our budget includes $17.3 billion for the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, enabling ACF to continue to help low-income families with children achieve economic mobility. The budget also improves program integrity in the TANF program by increasing our statutory authority to collect data about state expenditures to improve alignment with allowable uses of funds and to provide data needed to comply with the Payment Integrity Information Act. The $5 million cost of this is proposed to be offset with a reduction in the TANF Emergency Fund. The budget also includes a child support services proposal to improve IRS data disclosure to state and tribal child support service agencies and contractors. This proposal would amend the Internal Revenue Code and the Social Security Act to grant state child support program contractors and tribal child support programs access to federal tax information, which would improve child support enforcement efficiency. The proposal is estimated to save $1.2 billion over 10 years. And the budget also improves the repatriation program's responsiveness and effectiveness, ensuring prompt assistance to U.S. citizens returning home without the need for Congress to enact a time-limited cap increase during crises by raising the statutory ceiling on temporary assistance from $1 million to $10 million and indexing this to inflation. This proposal is estimated to cost $10 million over 10 years. The discretionary budget funding for programs that help advance economic mobilities for families include $4.1 billion for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, which is an increase of $111 million from FY23. As many of you know, LIHEAP provides utility assistance to low-income households and helps them meet their home energy needs. This increase allows for the option to use a portion of funds to provide water bill assistance as well. We also have $770 million in funding for the Community Services Block Grant to support services that alleviate the causes and conditions of poverty in under-resourced communities. This includes services that address employment, education, housing assistance, nutrition and health, and additional services that reduce poverty. $20 million in funding to continue the important work of the diaper distribution demonstration and research pilot that addresses the relatively high cost of diapers for families with low incomes and supports their economic mobility. The 21 grant recipients and their partners, which include community action agencies, social service agencies, diaper banks, and other nonprofit organizations, are providing diapers and diapering supplies to participating families on a consistent basis and connecting families to wraparound support services, which includes job training, educational support, early Head Start, and housing services to improve their overall economic mobility. And last, I want to highlight $5 million to continue demonstrations of whole family approaches to service delivery across the life cycle of families' interaction with benefit programs. This is an increase of $2 million from FY23. These projects will work to ease application burden, to reduce redundant information submissions and verifications, to improve time to access benefits, improve cross-enrollment rates, and reduce the churn of people being disenrolled and shortly re-enrolled in benefit programs. The demonstrations will identify elements of existing best practices and test methods of scaling those approaches to other states. We are incredibly excited about this budget request that will enable ACF to further invest in programs, resources, and services that improve outcomes for individuals and families and help them succeed. And now I will turn it over to Deputy Assistant Secretary Johnson.
Well, thank you to all of the panelists for your presentations and your continued leadership on behalf of children and families that we serve. And thank you to everyone who joined today. We could not do this work without you. It is in partnership with you that we're able to continue to deliver on ACF's mission. So that concludes our budget discussion for today. We have popped into the chat the external.affairs@acf.hhs.gov email. You can follow up with us and we will get additional answers to your questions. So that concludes our webinar, and appreciate all the work you're doing to support children and families across our country.